Welcome to Healing Highs with Lara, where we talk about the highlights and serendipitous moments of our healing journeys. I'm your host, Lara, an international energy healer for animals and humans. Thank you for being here. I love sharing these stories with you. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I am thrilled to have as a guest today, Faith Streng, third generation spiritual healer. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. So we have known each other, I don't even know, like 5, 6 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And we've been able to work do our healing together. You did a summit last year, and I was one of the facilitators. Like, there's been multiple things. So I'm just so happy to be able to sit here with you and get to talk about all our favorite topics.
Yay, me too.
Being a third generation spiritual healer, that's like so significant and powerful. Can you tell us more of like when you first kind of realized as a child, or when it was that you were like, oh, this is a thing that we all do?
Yeah, I remember I was about 5 years old when my mother did this training with my grandmother that was called spiritual response therapy. I know, we've talked about that before. And it's a form of past life healing. So they were both very intuitive, but this was the modality that really brought their psychic abilities to the surface. And I remember having some stomach aches when I went to kindergarten, and I didn't know it was anxiety, but it was anxiety.
Okay.
And that's the first time I remember my mom saying, let's do some clearing around it. That's what they call it in this modality, which are these charts and a pendulum that you use to identify and clear past life trauma. So that was the beginning, and all growing up, I remember whenever things would come up, my mom would say, let me just do some clearing for you. I was very familiar with the charts. And then she kind of lost interest. She will pick up things and do them for a while. But when I went to college, I got really reawakened and really interested in it again. I was around other people who were interested in spirituality, and my mom came in and did some little mini sessions for people, and I had friends who told me that I should do it. And I went, no, I can't do it. But then the next time I went home, I was 19, I picked up the pendulum myself, and it just started spinning immediately.
Whoa, I'm getting like crazy chills. Okay.
And to this day, I don't really know if that's, happened to anyone else that I've talked to when they've started working with pendulum work, but my mom had been doing this deep clearing for me for so long that it was like right online for me. And so that's when I started using this material myself. And eventually it turned into a way for me to communicate with spirit, source, the universe, high self, with my eye blinks, actually, which is a part of this modality. And so I just started doing that, and it was just something that was always in the background. It was never something I wanted to do as a career, but it just became second nature for me. So really from the time I was 19 on, it was just always there for me.
I love that. How do you, because they had been doing that modality. Obviously, they're helping you with it. And then you're starting to use it for yourself and other people. Did you start to like put your own like twist, energy, like signature on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I decided that the path I was on, which was being a performer, being a writer, and decided that that was not for me and I needed to find something else, and eventually it hit me, oh my gosh, I'm a third generation healer and I have these gifts. I love talking about this. This is really the career path I want to carve for myself. Reiki was my primary modality at that point. But I knew when I was doing Reiki for people and for animals, my eyes were blinking furiously. So I knew there was Akashic healing happening, but I didn't really understand it. My clairvoyancy wasn't really opened up at that point. And so I just knew I was doing Reiki, but there was other things happening beyond Reiki. And then during the lockdowns, when everything went online and I just fully devoted myself to my business, that's when my clairvoyancy really opened up, and I realized I didn't even really need the charts anymore. So, and I started making these connections between past life healing and the chakra system, and seeing traumas that have happened, or even, beautiful things that have happened in other lifetimes, we can use them and as pathways to open up our energy centers in this life even more.
Yeah.
So I pulled from my experience as a Reiki master and into this work in the Akashic Records into something else very new. And again, because I have this background of like years and years and years of clearing away this work, not that it's done by any means, there's always more to do. Like,
Exactly.
let's be clear about
So
that.
true.
But so now it's this combination of energy healing, past life healing, channeling, working with different guides, and spiritual coaching, kind of all in one whole system experience that I offer to people.
Oh, that's so cool that you were able to make it your own and then also align with what source really wanted to like open up for you and just be open to it.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
thank you. Yeah, it's been a really interesting journey, and it's been fun to acknowledge like how much my mother and my grandmother gave to me, and now my mother's still alive, and now she's been my biggest supporter, and she enjoys learning from me as I'm discovering all these new things now, and it's just really fun to be in the fluidity of that too.
Yeah, of what she's learning and then offering to you and the insights. As you were, maybe experiencing her helping you with healing and then your own shifting of the modality and your own healing, have you ever had an experience that felt very serendipitous, synchronistic, that was like, whoa, this is like validating what I'm doing right now?
Yeah. The biggest thing that happened, there were like two big things that happened at once. And it was, I guess it was about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And I started my business in a 1-bedroom apartment, living with my husband. And I had this tiny desk, like the tiniest desk I could find, that was like wedged in next to our bed and the wall.
Wow.
And that's where I started. That was the only space that we had. And I knew I needed more room. I knew we needed a bigger place. But my husband is a musician, right? I'm a spiritual healer. We also got to a point where we were thinking, we're apartment people, and 1-bedroom apartment is fine. We don't pay a lot of rent, gives us a lot of, means for other things. And if we never own a home, that's totally fine with us.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of planning my first retreat that I was planning on my own. And I had done one retreat where I'd hosted with 2 other people, and I knew I wanted to facilitate a plant medicine retreat, not lead those journeys myself, but to put one together. I knew I wanted to do it in Mexico. It felt very aligned, and I just trusted I was going to find the right people to help me do that. And right as I was figuring out those details, we got a call from my father, who I wasn't raised with. My parents didn't get married, and he lives in Alaska. So I did not spend a lot of time with him growing up. And he's a really good guy, but we have issues with your parents if you generally weren't. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't? And he offered us a sum of money that would not cover a down payment for a home specifically, but that would really help us to purchase a home. And, my husband didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. Never thought this would happen, especially as I have this evolving relationship with my father. And he was a real estate agent, so that's very important to him. And money has been one of my biggest kind of lessons and journeys in also involving my spiritual life in this particular incarnation, as it has been for so many of us. So this opened up a door for us that we never thought was possible. And so it was so healing for me and my father. It brought hope, it brought this possibility into our lives, but we still weren't really sure if we still would have enough or if this was still an option for us. And I was like, I really feel called to do this retreat. So I don't know if I can do them both. That's
Right.
a really big ask. That's a lot of expansion. I was actually working with mushrooms at the time, and I was on a microdosing protocol, and they really offered a lot of support to me to go inward and really ask, like, is this something I can do? Can we do them both? And the answer I kept getting was yes, yes, yes. And I was like, I don't know if I can trust that. Like, I really trying to be smart, and I just don't know. But I kept hearing the answer was yes, do both, do both, do both.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Provia Psychology. At Provia Psychology, we believe healing is a whole person journey. Our compassionate mental health therapists offer personalized care that honors your unique path, blending evidence-based therapy with deep intuitive understanding. With offices in Long Beach and Newport Beach and secure telehealth across California, support is always within reach. Visit proviapsychology.com to find a therapist who aligns with you. Provia Psychology, healing starts here.
So we said, okay, we're gonna start looking for a house. And I got in this mindset. I was able to just go, I'm gonna expand, we're gonna make this work.
Yeah.
And this feels so right for us. So I decided to move forward with the retreat. It sold out in 5 days.
That's so good.
In 5 days. And as I was collecting more money than I was anticipating up front, even though eventually it was going to pay out,
Right.
it also allowed us to be more attractive home buyers in the moment.
Oh.
And so for me, that was the biggest sign of that, again, solutions are beyond our conscious understanding. And I can't take credit for my father's generosity, of course, but that was such a co-creation of the healing of our relationship. And also, offering security for my husband and I in ways that we'd never had thought possible.
Yeah.
And then also let me know how important retreats are.
Right.
And which I've continued to get evidence of that as I've hosted others. And what happens when I'm aligned and tuned into what my community is asking for. And when I do put myself into a space of receiving and trusting, which my name is Faith. My name is Faith for a reason. Like I picked this name for a reason because it continues to be something that I have to examine and explore myself and really nurture in myself. But that experience just showed me that, yes, you are supported on your security journey unfolding and in your work as a spiritual leader. And it just was this beautiful convergence all at once. Not to mention the home buying process is a totally spiritual journey and very intense.
Yes.
But we did also, in the end up finding a place for us that was just so incredibly perfect. And we just love it so much.
I remember when you had announced it on your platforms that you got it, and you were kind of giving little bits of that, and it was so incredible. I was so happy for you.
Thank you.
And then you were doing some remodeling last year.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other spiritual journey.
Yes.
So that's such a perfect example, I think, because the way that I had the intention of this podcast is so many of us are on these journeys and we at times feel very alone in what we're going through, even though there's such a huge community of healers. In the world, we can feel like we're the only ones. And those signs and those moments that are no, we're supporting you, we're helping you, believe us, you are supported, is such a keep going, you're okay, we're here for you, we're gonna bring the people to you, and you're gonna feel less alone, So I love those types of stories for that reason, to help anybody that might be in a similar space. But specifically what you're sharing, I think, because you're talking about, this relationship with your father, that had to be, you were doing your own work with that. That changed. You and your husband, what you were going through in terms of your own, do we want this? We don't know. Oh yeah, we do. And then the money part, the money part is always people have, that's just like such a common, I'm sure like with your clients, you notice that too. Like it's such a common thing that people are struggling with. And I actually yesterday was just having this conversation with my client about that. And she was moving through some huge shifts of money beliefs. And I don't know if you have anything that is like a piece of wisdom around that could also help our listeners in terms of like their healing journey and that aspect of the spirit of money and the things that you maybe shifted or anything to help like open that up more.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things that come to mind. One, as I was thinking about what I wanted to share today, I couldn't help but also think about the tiny little reminders that we get that are so easy to overlook.
Yes.
But I was thinking about, well, every time I see an angel number, I know. And every time an animal crosses my path, right, that I'm really called to, I know there's something being revealed to me. It shows me that I know I am connected to this subtle matrices that we live in.
Yes.
And even pulling tarot cards, right? And we want the big signs, right? We want the big things. But sometimes it does take a little while. You know, I was manifesting a 2-bedroom apartment for like a year and a half before anything really happened.
Right.
And I attract a lot of clients who have been through a lot of really intense stuff, and they've worked with other healers, and they've been on this journey for a long time. And sometimes the mainstream manifestation stuff, it doesn't work for everyone.
No.
And I know that sometimes it's hard for me to get into the feeling. It's hard for me to put myself into the I already have it. So for me, manifestation is really rooted in shadow work. That's the main thing for me, is digging out the shame and digging out the guilt and what am I missing? You know, what am I ignoring? Because if I am constantly trying to even just do tapping on self-concept and positivity and abundance, it doesn't always work for me.
Yeah.
Like I have to do that other stuff even more so than the affirmations. And understanding that it's also not just about mindset. It is also about astrology. It is also about your birth chart. It is also about divine timing.
Yeah.
And I think if you are in a certain group of people, you know, that's what I would offer. The energy is always changing. Cycles are always changing. And we are just flowing with the magnetism of the cosmos. And so I had a conversation with a client yesterday who's dealing with a really serious, genetic illness and really understanding, like, for the rest of her life, it's like quality of life, But she's incredibly spiritual, incredibly gifted, and knows that she has things to share. And I was like, you don't have to stay positive, like it's too far of a jump. Like, let's just get you into a tiny moment of softness, right? Like whenever you can. And let's just get like a playlist that you can listen to. And we don't have to go from despair to all the way up to the top, right? And it's so easy to think that we have to be living in this constant space of expansion and joy and gratitude. It's like, no, you don't. That's unsustainable, right?
True.
If we continue to focus on just comfort and self-soothing and just know, like, the universe knows what you need. The universe knows you need more money, right? The universe knows you need more security. The universe knows you need help. The universe knows you need more soul-aligned people in your life. Like, period, the end. The universe knows. So what can we do, like, to just read a fun book, to just watch a fun movie, to just get outside and focus more on nervous system regulation than anything else. Like, fuck the rest of it. Just focus on what's going to feel good for you and soft and gentle right now. And like, that is manifestation too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you're saying that, because it's a common thing that we think, I got to be in the big energy. That's great. And it's so helpful to maybe even just introduce the concept to you. But yeah, sometimes it's the tiniest subtle things of just, my bed is comfortable. And being like, I'm just going to be in this loving that my bed feels good right now that I'm laying on it. And that's like just the start of that energy that you're talking about. Yeah. And just enjoying that, the smallness. And like you said, I'm glad that you said that, because that's something that when I invite people to the podcast, they say, we have so many signs that come through, but they're so small. I don't know how to share that. And I'm like, yeah, but share them, because they are overlooked when you, like, I mean, this is kind of a bigger one, but yesterday a towing company drove past me and had my name on it. My name is not a common name, so I was like, huh? But like, I could have been like, oh, that's interesting. Or like, the angel numbers, or a song on the radio that you're like, I feel like those words are exactly what I'm going through, and we can just be like, oh, that was weird. But no, it's not. It's literally this holding of you in the space that you're in and saying like, keep going, you're doing it. Yeah. I love everything that you just said. That was so amazing. Thank you.
That brings so much more richness into our life experience, right? And also when we're in those times where gratitude is hard for us, where joy is hard for us, where our nervous system isn't comfortable in a receiving mode, can we offer ourselves love and compassion in those moments, exactly where we are? And can we offer understanding and love to the resistance, to the pain, to all that, and just go, you know what, hey, you're okay. You're still doing okay. And you are still perfect in this moment, even with the challenges that you're having. And I think that is really what can create the massive, massive, massive shifts. And I know you talk about self-love a lot, and we had beautiful conversations in the summit about that, that, self-love is so much more than what the general journals you would buy at Target, right, tell you about. It's about loving all of the dimensions of ourselves, even the ones that make us really uncomfortable.
Full acceptance of all of it. And it's important, like you said, to look at that shadow part of ourselves and the many parts of the shadow, right? Because when we can, I remember this, somebody I met through someone else, we were having like a brief conversation, and she said, but shadow work it's so dark, it feels, evil, or, she just had this description of it, like, you shouldn't go there. It shouldn't, you should be like, like it's going to pull you in and curse you kind of energy. And I just offered like this alternative point of view of the idea that, but if we are the light and we go into our shadow, then we're bringing light to those parts of us. And so it's so important. And you do see how much different you feel afterwards, and how much better you feel and aligned. And, for us, we're like, okay, let's get in there. Where are we going today? Like we know, and people who are healers and on their journey and really working like that, they get it. And they're like, what else do I need to look at today? But if you're new to it, that can be scary to hear the word shadow work. Go into those spaces. It feels counterintuitive to the large kind of message of light and love and be in the light all the time. And, and they'll be, this is uncomfortable, and it's like, it is, but it's going to take us somewhere.
Right. Absolutely. Because most of us, or so many people, have been raised in homes where anger is bad, sadness is bad, right? Jealousy is bad, desperation, it's bad, 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 bad. And we fear the dark, and that's also a very common human thing, because what's in the dark? It's unknown, and we have all these stories. They're scary things, but what if the dark is full of potential?
Exactly.
There is just as much possibility that there's goodness and excitement and all of these other wonderful things that are in the unknown, right? And And to your point, we as healers know that the only way out is through.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're going to be in the swamp, you're going to be in the dark forest for as long as you need to be. But with each new thing that you uncover, there's more light that comes in. Okay. And that when we stop judging the dark and we stop judging ourselves and our feelings, and that's really where so much of the resistance and the pain comes from, that's where the freedom is.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, that's so good. This episode is brought to you by Glow IV Spa. Glow IV Spa, Charlotte, North Carolina's luxury mobile IV therapy service. From energy-boosting vitamin drips to powerful wellness shots like B12 and glutathione, Glow IV Spa brings hydration and healing straight to your door. Every session includes a free wellness consultation and their signature Energlow IV experience, even using crystal energy to enhance vitality. Book your drip today at glowivspa.com and follow at glowivspa on Instagram to stay connected with Glow. I'm like, how do I phrase this question? Because it feels like we're kind of like, I'm like making a sharp turn, but it's
Love
not.
it.
I know you're not.
Let's make a sharp turn.
It also goes with what we're talking about. I'm like really talking a lot with my clients lately because of the climate that we're living and how challenging it is for so many of us, that they don't feel like they're doing enough, and how can they do more, and what if they're not out in the streets being an activist, what can they do? And I'm always trying to remind them that even healing is a revolutionary act. We are becoming our own selves, and we're inspiring other people to be their own selves, and there's so much ripple effect of that. And the energy that holds, I just wonder what because I know it's also a strong thing for you. Mm-hmm. And I just think your words and the lens that you see that through, it will be really powerful for a lot of people to hear. Mm. What do you feel about that type of information question?
This is a really important conversation. I'm really glad that we're having it now. Yeah. And I'm so grateful you've been able to convey that to your clients, because I completely 100% agree with that. That number one, the most important thing you can do is be on your own healing journey. Mm-hmm. And at the end of all my group sessions, I'll always say, thank you for being on your spiritual journey. You are helping to raise the vibration of the planet. Mm-hmm. And like those subtle symbols we were talking about that's so easy to overlook, that also is really easy to overlook. True. But when we think about, you really don't know what happens when you smile at someone. Mm-hmm. You really don't know what happens when you offer to help someone with their groceries, or you offer to help someone across the street, or you think to call a friend and turns out they've really been struggling. Because this web that we were all a part of is so fucking real. Mm-hmm. And we are in a time that is demanding love and forgiveness. And especially for those people we don't want to love, and we don't want to forgive, and we don't want to understand. And not everyone is meant to be an activist. And that's okay. Yeah. And we just say, if it comes a time and you are called to, then please do it. Mm-hmm. But do it with love, and be aware of transmuting as much as you can your rage, which is validated, 100%, into action and purpose and drive and motivation, which is what anger is supposed to do. And I'm certainly not the only one that is talking about how this is the beginning of the end of this. Right? Totally. And this is the last clause of things trying to hold on, just like our egos try to hold on and claw. As soon as we start healing, right, these things come up because our subconscious mind doesn't want to relinquish control, right? So it's the same thing that's happening. It's a reflection of the collective. But so to your point, it is important to, and not just do your own self-care, but to be with others. And whether that's communities or one-on-one, it's very easy just to imagine self-care as like just being a solo thing, but self-care is social. And self-care, if you have the bandwidth to hold space for other people, you don't have to fix other people, that's a big thing, but just be a space holder, let them talk, right?
Yes.
And know that you are a safe space for them. But exactly everything you said, that taking care of your own stuff, keeping your own side of the street clean is the number one most important thing to do, because that is going to put you in positions of inspiring and helping others, which will then allow them to show up in whatever ways they're called to be. Whatever, coaches, teachers, leaders, parents, siblings, employees, activists, in all the ways. And all we want is for people to receive the acknowledgement and the encouragement and the support for them to find their unique purpose on how they want to move forward at this particular time in our history.
Yeah, really, truly. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I hadn't actually planned on asking you that, and it dropped in last night. Like this, I've been having this conversation so much, and then as I was preparing for today, I thought, oh my gosh, yeah, why wasn't I thinking to ask you? Like, you're so living that, truly helping your clients and your community do that, and you're such a example of that. So it was like in my head, like, how did I not think to ask? So I'm so glad that, Spirit like dropped it in, because I just think it's so important for our listeners to hear. My favorite fact about our analytics of this show is that there are people in 9 countries listening. So I feel like when those types of things get said, it's going all over, connecting countries and communities to bring this energy and hold this energy. And so things like that I just feel are so powerful, and I'm grateful that Spirit asked me, gave it to me, and I'm grateful for everything that you just said.
Thank you. Me too.
Amazing. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would love to share, about what are your current offerings? Like, what are you doing right now? Like, you're just doing so many cool things. Like we were talking about the salt cake, but anything, like what?
Well, I'm always offering my one-on-one sessions, which are a combination of the past life healing, energy balancing, channeling, and spiritual coaching. And I have a 3-month psychic development mentorship, which I'm really passionate about. And because what I noticed in my long-time clients was that their psychic abilities were opening up very organically as we were doing this work. Because being intuitive, being psychic, which is just being open and aware of the subtle energies around us, is our natural state of being. And so as we continue to do this deep subconscious work and releasing this baggage and these limiting beliefs, it just opens up really naturally. So I have that 3-month program, and I love that. And I have my Etsy shop is now full up, ready to go with just recordings of my workshops and some really fun PDFs that I've been putting together. That has just been a really fun kind of passion project for me on the side.
So cool.
So that is available, and I am getting ready to launch my next retreat in Ireland, which will be over St. Patrick's Day and the spring equinox next year.
That's amazing.
And it will be a sacred sites tour of different places around Ireland. I'm partnering up with a tour company that's been working in Ireland for over 40 years. So I have a wait list going for that, and we're going to be finally announcing dates like any day now. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about the mentorship. So when people are in that, and what kind of things at the end of that are they like transforming? Like what are they starting to like that you observe in them?
was really exciting for me to notice that it wasn't just after 3 months that people were seeing these really major shifts, but it was for like a year even after they were done with the program. Not only are people feeling more comfortable and confident with their psychic abilities, if people are looking for business coaching, that can also be a part of it. I am seeing people feel more comfortable with the way their business is growing, and at a pace that feels good for them. People are feeling more connected to their purpose. Their purpose just becomes crystal clear for them. They're feeling more relaxed in general. They're communicating better. They're feeling more empowered, and they are just seeing more magic and miracles in their everyday lives.
Love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we'll have all your info in the bio at the
Beautiful.
bottom of all the platforms. So we're adding a new thing. I have to get my phone out for this. We're adding a new thing that I'm going to ask you like quick fire questions.
Okay.
So like just whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
It's all healing related, like 95% of it. Okay. What healing modality do you love the most that you ever did for yourself?
Past life healing.
Okay. Favorite type of yoga?
Yin yoga.
Love that. Most special place you ever traveled?
Ireland.
Okay.
Yep.
It's so magical. I haven't been there yet, but I can feel it calling me. Favorite constellation?
Orion.
That's mine too. I love that one. Atlantis or Lemurian? Wow, I can say that.
I'm gonna have to
Or
say.
third option, like if you have another one.
I'm gonna say Atlantis.
Okay.
But I feel like we could do a whole other podcast about that.
100%, because I am more like aligned with Lemurian, and so I think there's so much about that there.
Can I add something to
Yes.
that? Okay, great. So I feel very called to Lemuria. I have past lives as Atlantis, so I know I feel that
Yes,
energy
you
more
have that.
strongly in me. But I also love everything Lemurian, and I'm super fascinated by it. But if you're gonna make me pick one that
Pick one.
resonates more in my body,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Atlantis.
And I feel that for you, and it's same. I have the same thing. Like I love everything about the energy of Atlantis. I can feel there was something there, but mine's more the other way. So it's just funny.
I feel that about you too, so it makes perfect sense.
Most unique place you ever hosted a healing ceremony?
Most unique place I ever hosted a healing ceremony, probably the Salt Cave.
It's so cool sounding. Yeah. That you said it's in Woodland Hills, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That's what I was like, in case anyone's. Do you have a nickname?
Faithers.
Oh, cute. I love that. Favorite type of food?
Mediterranean.
Okay. If you had a choice, what would you want to reincarnate as?
If I had a choice, what would I want to on Earth?
It could be anything.
Oh, it could be anything. I just want to be some kind of pink goddess essence. I just want to be like a sparkly mist that
Of
just
pink.
goes around and like blesses different material things.
love
Is that an
so
answer?
much. Yes.
That's my answer.
Yes, that's why I didn't put like on Earth or anything, because I was like, I want to see like all the things that could come up. That's great. Do you have a favorite word?
Ooh, do I have a favorite word? I really like the word transcendence.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your moon sign?
My moon sign is Gemini. Oh, stop it!
That's great. Okay, that was the quick fire.
phew.
Yeah, you're off the hot seat.
Okay.
But thank you so much for everything that you said today. I know it's really going to resonate for so many people. And like I said, all her information will be in the bios, or you can reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll connect you. But yeah, I'm just so grateful that you took this time and are giving us like so much of your knowledge and wisdom.
Oh, thank you for hosting this beautiful platform to bring more light into the world. It's really, really, really important at this time. So,
Yeah.
and literally any opportunity to just chat with you and
I know,
collaborate
connect with you.
Like,
I know.
I'm down.
So excited. So thank you. So we always end the podcast asking the void a question. I have a question, but if you have a question, it could literally be anything from like, I think the first question I ever asked was like, what's your favorite like treat, to what's your favorite constellation? It could be anything. And you just ask it to the
Ask the void, and then allow.
the void answers. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why don't you go first?
And you don't even have to, but I just
Okay.
always give the opportunity. So the void, what is your favorite planet in the solar system? Our solar system.
Venus.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, but you don't have to, but if you have a question.
Okay. To the void, what is the most important organ in the body?
The heart.
The heart.
I guess it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. But it's nice to hear it from the void. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just like, want to end in that kind of silly energy.
Yeah.
And like getting like fun facts from the void. But yeah, so thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And thank you for listening today. And I wish you so much joy and serendipity on your healing journey. And I know our paths will cross again.